The first controls we're going to look at are the text box and text area controls. They're essentially the same. The only difference between them is the text area has multiple rows. And to bring a control into your form, you simply click and hold your mouse button down and then drag it into your page. Once it's in there, you let go, the field is created, and the control editor becomes active. The control editor for this field, you can give it a name. When you tab away from the label, the control name, which is the database name of the field, is automatically created from the label you give it. You can set default values for fields here, and placeholder text can be entered here. Placeholder text is grey text that appears in the field that disappears when the user starts typing. Then we have the include in search checkbox, and this is to allow this field to be a filter in the iApply dashboard. You can set the field mandatory here, and the mandatory can be done to every different kind of control. When you turn mandatory on, a message appears underneath it, and this is the message that will appear to the user if they try and move away from a page that has got a mandatory field set. There is a default message, which is please enter a value for 2. And if you hover over the question mark, you'll see 2 is substituting for the control's name, which is given name. So this message will say, please enter a value for given name. And you can modify this, and it only applies to this particular field. Persist when hidden is a checkbox. By default, iApply, if a field is hidden by a business rule, for example, if a particular question is asked and answered in a particular way, a whole bunch of questions may disappear. By default, iApply will then remove any values already in those questions, including default values or things the user may have entered. Persist when hidden. By turning this off, what that means is any values in a field that has been hidden by business rules will retain that value, and then you can use that later on in your form. The size field, you've got 4 options: small, medium, large, and extra large. And these sizes are based on the available amount of screen space that the user is opening the form into. Small will render the field at 25% of the available space, medium is 50%, large 75%, extra large 100% of the available space. You can set the maximum length in number of characters for a particular field. This is especially important if the field is going to be imported into a back-end system where there will be field limit sizes and things like that. And this is what makes a text field and a text area the same, is the number of rows. So at the moment we dragged in a text field, a text box, and it appears like so. By changing the number of rows, you'll see the text box is now a text area, and they work exactly the same way. What you'll also see, I'll just put this back to 1 row. What you'll also see on this right hand side is text fields and some of the other fields as well, date fields for example. You can see this validators tab here, and this is where you can apply a validator to a field so the user cannot enter invalid characters, for example. So if we look in the validators tab here, there are a number of validators built into iApply, and they can validate a whole lot of different things: license number formats, credit card number formats. There's all kinds in there. Numeric formats that has got to be 10 digits, including optional 5 decimal places. Well, as this field is going to be a given name, we're going to make this an alphanumeric. Sorry, not an alphanumeric. We are going to make this a... No, it is an alphanumeric. we're going to make this an alphanumeric field. Include, there it is, I was looking for it, alphabetical, including hyphens, apostrophes, and spaces. That way, people's names will be validated, but there shouldn't be any numbers or strange characters in there. Now, when you turn a validator on, and this applies to all the validators, every validator has got a default error message. Now, you can change this. Some of the default error messages are quite lengthy, and just for the ease of use for the user, we're just going to change this error message to please enter a valid given name. And by changing this error message, it will only apply to this one field. If we was to turn this validator onto another field, it could have a different error message itself. The final tab here is the business rules, and we will deal with business rules in a separate video. And that is all you need to know about the text box and text area fields.